Welcome back to update 21. We're going to put some good effort in on trying to get that chain link fence in around the cement factory, and a little more ground cover down in the town of Grange, and try to get some of that filled in. So those are going to be the major projects for this update. Let's see what we can get done. Started working on the chain link fence for around the cement factory, and I've got all the pieces cut out using a Dremel tool. Found that to be the best, and started laying out. Here is the gate area that we have, and they give you a template here. The holes are so small, I found that I could take one of my capacitors out of my junk drawer, and using that to kind of mark the holes. But to get something fine enough to go through, it's really kind of hard. What I wound up doing, I took one of my older screwdrivers that I'd really never used, and actually had to grind the point down a little bit so it could fit through there to be able to mark these. I'm going to take a moment and talk about bending this. Best way I found is I had a jig here for cutting wood. It had very nice square corners on it, and by taking that and lining up the side of it here to make sure it was right on and where I wanted to bend it, and folding this over, you'll get it to go about 80 degrees, 85, but that lasts a little bit. But once you have the holes marked where you want them to go, you can pull that into position. When it comes to joining two pieces of the fence together, I enlarged the hole that the fence sits into just a tiny bit larger than the rest of them, and slipped it down in there. You cannot hardly see any difference in it. I'm going to take just a touch of CA and I'll put on the back side here to help hold those. And then where these fit into here, I'm going to put a little bit of CA on the bottom of those to hold those into place. A couple lessons learned after doing this. The template is very nice that they give you, but trying to get a needle or something small enough to go through there, the holes, a little tough. I did find out just laying your fence down where you want it to go, and then using your small pin or whatever, just use the very bottom of the feet to go along and put your holes in. Another one, if you are actually using foam and going directly into foam, these small little legs on here are strong enough to go right through the foam. Put a little CA on them, take it, push it down, and it'll work just fine. And we got the fencing completed. Just have to put some junk inside the fence, and we'll have this project complete. A little run by here while I'm puttering on the layout. And still try to keep the trains running. Got the sidewalks in like I want them, and we're working on trying to make it look like kids were playing baseball out here or something. Put a little fencing up out here, and we'll get that going. Then putting some time in on the schoolhouse. Get a little red brick on it there, and Here again I'm waiting for a little bit of fencing. I'm going to put some fencing down the side here before I blacktop back in this area, a little ground cover around here with some fencing, kids playing in the back of the schoolyard. So in the other project, I acquired this church, but I don't like the base, so I'm getting ready to try to separate it. And I will say the person that glued this on used a very liberal amount of glue, so we're going to actually take a saw, cut around the edges, and then I'm going to try to sand the bottom plate off the church. See what happens. The church, we were able to remove the bottom piece of plastic. I took a saw and cut down both sides and across the front and rear. And then to get the base off, I have a big belt sander, and it took a little while. If you get it too hot, the plastic starts to melt on you a little bit. But toward the end, when it did get a little bit close, it softened the glue up, and I was able to kind of peel that last 32nd of an inch of plastic off the bottom. So we'll put a little aging on it, a little weathering, and we'll get that ready for the town. Okay, this is going to wrap up update number 21. Just a couple little quick things I wanted to show you was a little attachment that came with my wife's vacuum cleaner. I find it very, very handy for going around once a month or so and just vacuuming it out down the rails, and works out quite well. So if you got one, put it to use. Another question. Do you solder all of your rails together on your layout? Quite often I will solder one side of the rail joiners just to hold that in place while I plug the two tracks together. But I don't solder everything, so if I do have to pick things up, I can kind of pull them apart instead of having to unsolder them or cut them and solder them and replace. I do believe in a lot of wiring every 2 to 3 feet. I have a set of drops or on each side of the switch. Even if it's a small section, I'll put a set of drop wires in there on it. So just kind of wondered, do you solder all of your joints together? I find that my trains run quite well without having to do that. So anyway, just a question. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, and hope to see you again soon.